allow the body to settle in here. Maybe let the eyes close, let the palms face the direction that they feel most comfortable facing. Feel into the rhythm of your respiration. There's this woman sitting behind this big mahogany desk in this fancy high-rise building. And she's looking out over the city in these floor-to-ceiling windows. And she's looking around at hundreds of thousands of dollars of office decorations. And she's just been offered a giant promotion, and she's miserable. We'll give ourselves just 30 more seconds here just to feel into the rhythm of the respiration, the alignment of the spine, the ease of the seat itself. When it feels appropriate for you, we can allow the eyes to open if they're closed. Let's take our palms and turn them down if they're not already. And then as the palms come down, retract the scapula back. See if you can create a little space across this anterior shoulder girdle. Keep that awareness across the front of the shoulder girdle as you turn your chin to the left. And then we'll relax back to neutral. Same thing. See if there's a little bit more retraction in the scapula that you can offer. Think about opening the front of the shoulder girdle, and then we'll turn our chin to the right. And then we'll relax back to neutral. And try to feel the entirety of the shoulder girdle just relax. Retract those scapula. We're going to turn the chin to the left. And then with an exhale, like you're creating half of a U, you're going to drop your chin and bring it to the middle of the sternum. And then we'll lift the chin back to neutral. Retract the scapula. We're going to turn our chin to the right. Same thing, second side. Exhale, we drop the chin, comes to neutral. And then we release the chin back to a neutral plane. Turning the chin to the left. Exhaling and dropping to middle sternum. Inhaling to neutral cervical spine. And we'll return the chin to the right. With your exhale, we'll drop the chin. Inhale to neutral. And let's do one more time on each side. Turn. Find your exhale, drop. Inhale to lift. Turn. Find your exhale to drop. And inhale to neutral. Let's take our left arm and extend it straight towards the ceiling or sky. And we'll let the left hand come to the right side of the head, just letting the forefingers get a little grip there. And we're going to take that head tilt over towards the left. Think about what you can do to anchor on the right side. So retracting that scapula might work. Giving a little grounding sensation of humeral head tucking down might work. Really working on this lateral link through the cervical spine and down into the transition into the torso. let's relax the head back to neutral, relax the hands to neutral. Just think about symmetry here, creating symmetry in your shape, feeling symmetry in the respiration, trying to get the cervical spine to rest at a balanced point. And then let's take this over to side two. Right arm extends towards the ceiling or sky. We'll let the forefingers find the side of the head and we'll encourage that head tilt. Thinking about what we can do with the left shoulder to create more lateral expansion along the cervical spine and into that torso transition. Really subtle adjustments that are going to be unique to our own body here. Scapula back, humeral head down, humeral head back. Theoretically, humeral head can move forward. And when you feel balance left to right, we'll release back to neutral. Let's move just one full rotation in each direction with our head. So we'll exhale, drop the chin, and then just move to the right with towards the right ear, towards the right shoulder. Roll the head all the way back and behind you. Left ear towards left shoulder and chin to neutral. And then let's reverse that. Left ear to left shoulder. Head all the way back. Right ear to right shoulder. Chin to neutral. Lift your chin. Oh, nice work. We'll give ourselves just 30 seconds just to allow the cervical space to settle in here. Think about extending the crown of the head towards the ceiling as you rest more deeply into your seat. And so this woman behind this mahogany desk, looking at this promotion offer, has these tears of distress falling off her cheek and splashing onto the paper. Let's transition here to staff. So we'll extend our legs. As you extend your legs, let's set up a blanket or towel from shelf fold to a hot dog fold. So we end up with something like this. That's going to run across the mat behind us. And we're going to bump that up against the sacrum. But before we use our blanket, let's exhale into a little seated forward fold. And as you find your way into that seat, or into that fold, excuse me, check back in with the symmetry of your respiration, the symmetry of your release into your fold, particularly around the cervical spine and the shoulder girdle. Right? I mean, that's where we have been focused thus far. It's where we've likely created some asymmetry, or where we'd have the potential to create some asymmetry. You may have come into the practice with asymmetry, but if we've created anything thus far, it would be in that cervical spine. Think about how you can use each successive exhale breath to relax a little more. And in that relaxation, how the depth of the fold can increase a little more. The more we can be at ease, the more depth we can find in our fold. And let's give ourselves 60 more seconds here. I would love to do a class that is very, very, very forward fold centric. But I know that forward folds can be very, very uncomfortable for people too. And so if a forward fold centric class is something that and particularly seated forward folds, is something that interests you, let me know. Last 10 seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, we'll walk ourselves back up to staff. And then we're going to lower ourselves down nice and slowly over this blanket prop. The goal here is to have the natural arch of the lumbar spine accentuated, to have the sacrum land neutral, and then to just be able to ease into that space. Just really focusing on relaxing enough so that the sacrum can be completely at ease. So there's no tension in the lumbar. And so as these tears kind of splash onto this offer sheet, this woman knows almost instantaneously what she needs to do. It's like seeing the tears physically manifest on top of this offer created an awakening within her. She's successful, but she's truly miserable. And that realization almost forces her to not only turn down the promotion, but to resign her role. She's in a position where she's not in need of finances. And she decides she's going to turn her attention to herself. Really making sure that you're able to relax at the sacrum. Let's inhale and take both arms towards the ceiling or sky, palms facing towards one another. And as the arms extend up, it's very easy to pull the back of the shoulder away from the mat. Think about plugging those humeral heads back down, like you're trying to engage the shoulders into your mat. And then with an exhale, let your right hand reach overhead towards the space behind you, thumb touching down on the floor or mat. And then inhale back to mirroring the left. And we'll do the same thing to the second side. Exhale, left thumb comes down and touches the floor or mat. Inhaling back to the ceiling or sky. And we're just going to alternate with our breath. Exhales releasing, inhales returning. As you move here, particularly if you're really focused on being integrated and plugged in at the shoulders, you may notice that the mobilization of your arm overhead and back to in front of you with really integrated shoulder structure becomes much more fatiguing for the stabilization musculature around the shoulder capsule than you might expect. If we're getting that feedback, and I am, it's a pretty good signal that we're spending a vast majority of our time with a disintegrated shoulder capsule. And if you really think about how much time you spend in your daily life ensuring that your shoulders are plugged in, that you're integrated across the shoulder girdle, even if you're very posture aware, most of us tend to be very posture aware in the middle of the body, which makes sense. It's the area with the most mobility and the ease of dysfunction is highest there. So we tend to lock down the core, but locking down the core can actually accentuate the shoulder forward position that we're working against here. So if we're moving and feeling a lot of fatigue, have a nice flashing light that as you exist throughout the day, drawing some awareness to your shoulder integration may be valuable. Let's do one more time to each side. And when you feel complete, you can release the arms down by your side. Palms up would be ideal, but if that doesn't feel right for your shoulders, you can go to the internally rotated position. And then just drift your awareness to the point where the sacrum and the lumbar spine meet. So the transition between kind of stability and mobility in the spinal column. Just draw your breath to that meeting point of the sacrum and the lumbar spine, the meeting point between stability and mobility in the spine. Ideally here, there's a break. There's a pause of pressure on the disc between the sacrum and the lumbar spine. And so see if you can feel that little bit of extra space, right? The space that is created by the prop underneath us. The softness at the base of the spine, where we're taking pressure off of an area that holds an immense amount of pressure for us throughout the day. And we'll give ourselves 60 more seconds just to feel that connection and interconnection. How the blood flow is moving in the lumbar spine. Feel how the nerves are responding to the softness you're offering here. And when it feels appropriate for you, we are going to bend the knees so the kneecaps point towards the ceiling, feet come flat onto the mat, and elevate our hips high enough so that we can slide the blanket from its position now to underneath the sacrum. And then releasing the sacrum down and finding the place where your sacrum and blanket or towel can connect, where the sacrum feels completely stable. So if you're too high, you can feel stable, but you can also feel impact on the lumbar. If you're too low, then the sacrum's going to be tilting and into instability. We want that blanket to be just across the top of the sacrum. We want the prop to be just across the top of the sacrum so that the full width of the sacrum is equivalently supported, and you can just relax. The goal here is to continue to accentuate that pressure release at the sacrum lumbar connection point. Here we're doing it by, previously we were doing it by supporting the lumbar and letting the sacrum land. Here we're supporting the sacrum and letting the lumbar land. But the goal is to continue to expand the space around that disc so that we can bring ease to the base of our spine. And so after a few weeks of kind of being discombobulated, this woman really centers her life back around herself. The transition was somewhat difficult for her, transitioning away from this workload and putting her emphasis and her energy into building her own happiness. But she finally feels like she's doing it. So she starts kind of researching different modalities of inner connection. She settles upon our first kind of modality of exploration is Kundalini yoga. She really likes the offering of chants and the wisping of energy upwards. And so for a few months, she gets really deeply into Kundalini yoga. And she feels her energy just spiraling upwards, spiraling upwards, spiraling upwards until it eventually feels like it's dysregulating. And so she switches her experience from Kundalini to something more grounding, and she gets really deeply into restorative yoga. We'll give ourselves just 60 more seconds here. And for a few months, she gets really deeply into restorative yoga and she starts to feel grounded and connected. She feels like she wants more. And she starts researching ashrams she can move to. And she finds one in this pristine mountainous region of Central America. When it feels appropriate for you, we're going to take that blanket out from underneath us and we'll release our sacrum down to the mat. And as the sacrum grounds here, think about the union between the sacrum and the lumbar. And how we want to find as much neutrality as possible there. And then we are going to heel toe our feet as close together as is comfortable. And add like 3% pressure into the medial line so that the thighs are energized towards one another. And then thinking about that space at the base of the lumbar spine, exhale and allow both knees to fall to the left. And just really think about that space at the base of the lumbar spine. And then inhale and return back to neutral. As the weight comes back to neutral, make sure that you fully land so that both sides of the sacrum are holding equivalent amounts of weight. And then we're going back to the left, exhaling to the left. Inhale back to neutral. Back to full balance across the sacrum, and then exhale again to the left. Thinking about how the lumbar spine and sacrum are rotating here and using that space you've crafted. And inhaling back to neutral. Getting the sacrum all the way back to neutral. And then when it feels appropriate, exhaling to the left. crafting space at the base of the sacrum. And so while she's doing this research, she finds this place just seems perfect for her. The weather is constant and tropical. We'll inhale back to neutral, finding that balance across the sacrum. Exhale to the left once again. The ashram itself is built into this volcanic mountain. There are crystal clear mountain lakes, streams, and rivers. Wildlife she hasn't experienced. And they offer everything. They have deep, silent meditations. They have restorative yoga. They have power yoga. They have vinyasa yoga. They have kundalini yoga. It's like every modality is offered. And so she uproots her life and she gives her possessions away. She moves to this ashram in Central America. We'll inhale back to neutral. Let the sacrum settle here. Think about the possible asymmetry at that lumbar joint. And then we are headed to the side too. So with an exhale, we'll take both knees to the right. And we'll inhale back to neutral. Check in on that little bit of pressure at that medial line, the inner thighs. And we'll exhale to the right. Thinking about the space at the base of the spine. We'll inhale the knees back to neutral. The sacrum comes back into this neutral alignment. We feel that ease. Think about the space as you're back to this neutrally aligned spine. And when it feels appropriate, we'll exhale both knees to the right. When it feels appropriate, we'll inhale our knees back to neutral. Landing, balancing, easing yourself here. Thinking about weight distribution, equivalency, finding fluidity in your breath. When it feels appropriate for you, we'll let both knees fall to the right. Feels appropriate for you, we'll bring our knees back to neutral, landing and anchoring here once again. Thinking about that connection between the sacrum and the lumbar spine. Thinking about that little bit of pressure, 3% pressure at your medial line. And when it feels appropriate for the last time, we'll let the knees fall to the right. And so this woman arrives down at this ashram. She's greeted and welcomed, and it looks better than the images she saw online. She's thrilled to be there, and she dives into everything. She goes back to Kundalini for a while, and she feels her energy spiraling upwards. And after a time, there's just like a little plateau, and she moves to the next movement modality. And again, she feels kind of an uplift in her spirit. And then there's a plateau, and she moves to the next movement modality. She kind of cycles through all the movement modalities and finally gets to the point where she thinks she's ready for meditation, and she kind of pushes deeply into silent stillness. And it feels appropriate for you. We'll bring our knees back to neutral. And as the knees come back to neutral, allow the awareness to drift back to that point at the base of the spine, union to the sacrum. And keep your awareness there as you draw your thighs in towards the torso. The hands come to the shins or hamstrings. Give yourself a nice squeeze here. See if as you squeeze, if the tailbone can lift, and as like you're pushing the tailbone towards the space in front of you and creating even more softness, even more space at the base of the spine. And then if this is accessible to you, start to reach the hands towards the feet or the ankles, and think about the neutrality in the lumbar as the sacrum energizes towards that space in front of you. As you craft more room here. Using the rhythm of your respiration to continue to build more ease, and in the ease, more space for the spine. Give ourselves just 20 more seconds here, just relaxing, easing, creating space for the spine. When it feels appropriate, you can release the feet back down to the mat. Big, full exhale into the space you've created. Let's connect with our ball and our blanket or towel prop for a little cervical spine adjustment. So from our hot dog fold, we can just place that ball in between the folds of the blanket or towel. And we're going to place that ball inside the blanket underneath the cervical spine. 3 positions: base of the cervical spine, middle of the cervical spine, base of the skull. Any of those positions, each of those positions offers unique benefits. Pick the one that's right for you. The feet can be extended, knees can be bent, bottoms of the feet can be together. Anything that feels appropriate. Where you put your feet, how you put your feet will impact the pressure of the ball. So you may want to try all three positions to see what is the most ideal for you. And so she gets really into this still meditation. But after a while, she feels like she wants more. And she realizes she's been kind of shifting from focus to focus to focus to focus to focus. And she looks at the ashram schedule and the way that the schedule is set up, she can fit it all in. It'll be a full day, but she thinks, I reset my life. I'm doing this all for me. Why not spend a full day? Why do the hour and then walk through the woods? Why don't I concentrate my energy on me? And so that's what she does. She does the meditation before sunrise, and then Kundalini at sunrise, and then a power flow yoga, and then a brief dip into lunch, and a restorative class, and a vinyasa class. And her day just gets full, packed full of these modalities for wellness. At the same time, she has to be precise in order to fit everything in. She's not able to really immerse herself in the ashram surroundings because she's immersing herself in all of these experiences constantly. And so she's rushing from one station to the next, from one class to the next, from one experience to the next, constantly throughout the day. And at the end of the day, she's beyond exhausted. Her head hits the pillow and she's out. And that goes on for a while until one night she can't sleep. And she's overcome with this wave of anxiety. And she realizes that she's just as unhappy as she was before. She's just as unhappy in this tropical paradise, in this ashram, in these classes as she was sitting behind her desk. And that realization is overwhelming because she's given up her life. She's given up all her belongings. She's given up a promotion, her career, her friends. And nothing's really changed. And she spends the entirety of the night thinking about that. Give ourselves just 60 more seconds here. Really feeling the weight of your body pressing into that ball and the release that ball is offering wherever it is located. So she doesn't sleep at all that night. When her alarm goes off in the morning for her pre-sunrise meditation, she throws her phone across the room. She gets up. She walks outside down the path towards the meditation room. And she walks right past it into the forest. When it feels appropriate for you, we can take that blanket ball prop out from underneath us and just release your body back into the mat. Ask yourself if there's anything that you might offer, that you might benefit from, that could be advantageous prior to Shavasana. And if there is, let's offer that to ourselves now. If you have everything you need, if you're ready for some stillness, then let's drift into a shape where we can appreciate that stillness. She walks into the forest for a little ways and up this path towards this lake that she found, that she loves. She gets up there and the lake is just so stunningly beautiful. The trees are reflected. The peak of the volcano is, or the volcanic mountain is reflected in this valley of this lake. And everything is so perfect and beautiful that it infuriates her that she could still be this unhappy. Well, she wants to scream, but she doesn't want to disturb anyone who is happy. And so she picks up a rock and she just chucks it into the lake as hard as she can. And it creates this splash that turns into these oscillating ripples, releasing your body into stillness here, into silence here. So as she looks down into these ripples that are getting smaller and smaller, she sees her face getting clearer and clearer. And something about the clarity coming back snaps her into something, a realization that the peace she had been looking for was never missing. It was always in her, waiting for her to stop. We'll start to bring some movement to our fingers and our toes. Wrists, ankles, elbows, knees, shoulders, hips, neck, head, jaw, eyes, tongue. Eventually, the entirety of our body will move, and we'll utilize that movement to transition our way back into a seat. In the seated space, spine gets tall, breath gets fluid, eyes close. Let your spine just settle back into that base that you've created. And with your next inhale, let's bring our hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that the solution to everything is already within you? See how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this morning's practice and for being you. Namaste.